A curious nature allows to break down barriers and conflict.
I feel that I'm walking out of here and taking my business to the next level.
What this helped me with was how to put a structure around, like my sales calls, when I'm listening to someone, how to really separate what they're saying, the meaning of what they're saying, what their needs are versus like what my needs are.
Awesome. Hey, how you guys doing? Martin Lopez here from the Curiosity Theory. And I want to thank you for hanging out with me. It's what I call this. I call it the Hangout. So there's a lot of people that I talk to, in my business, in my mortgage business, and unfortunately, a lot of I'm grateful for the business, but it's unfortunate because people go through divorces. People they argue, and they just sometimes it doesn't work out in the marriage, and you end up having to get divorced. And some of it's very, very nice. Sometimes people are very kind and they communicate and they're thoughtful and they work things out, but sometimes they're just not so generous with each other. Sometimes people in marriage are, they create conflict and they're just not nice. And I could talk about it all day and kind of talk about it from my perspective. Thank God, through my divorce, it's been really good. It's been very cordial and very, very positive and supportive. And then some of them that I've seen have been really tough. But what I thought would be really great to talk about communication and conflict, especially in marriage, is to bring on an attorney, a mediator. And I have a really good friend of mine, Rich Gordon, and he's been doing this. He's been at this for a while, and he knows a thing or two about relationships. He knows a thing or two about family and divorce. So let me bring Rich on right now. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hi, Martin. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. So thank you for hanging out with us today. The topic is communication, conflict in marriage. And so why don't you take a second and tell everybody about you, tell them what you do, and then we'll kind of jump in and start talking about it.
I am a lawyer by training and a mediator by choice. I've been doing mediation exclusively for about 35 years in and around the San Diego area. I was a lawyer and specialized in whatever walked in the door, but the Supreme Court said they would prefer for people to settle their cases rather than having be litigated. And I became a big proponent of mediation, keeping the teeter-totter balance and hearing both sides at the table. It winds up being saner for the people, less expensive for the people, and if they had children, allows them to be better parents to their children going forward because they're not fighting over every single aspect of the case.
That's really great. So when you decided to do that, was it like a calling for you? You just wanted to, just do something that was really more positive? That's what it sounds like.
I think your phrase, the calling, is apt. I have a brother-in-law that was an Episcopal bishop, not bad for a Jewish boy, and he had a calling to the clergy. The Supreme Court was a calling to me. So instead of being a litigator, I became a mediator, and it fulfills me. It makes me feel that's where I am, that's where I need to be, that's where my sweet spot is. So yes, it's a calling.
So what do you find are the challenges that couples face when it comes to, having a dissolution of marriage that's amicable, that's positive, what do you find the biggest challenges?
Well, if parties treat each other with dignity and respect, they can get to a sane place much more quickly. The biggest stumbling block, in no particular order, is infidelity. If one of the parties is having an affair and they have not been honest with their partner about it, they are withholding an important element of the divorce away from the other party. They're being deceitful. And they want to have an agreement based on deception. That's not fair. And so I often go there and ask, are you having a relationship right now? And because I'm an outside third party, I don't know either of the litigants or the parties. They are more apt to tell me than tell their spouse.
Mm.
And by doing so, you know the phrase, the truth shall set you free? Well, oftentimes that truth becomes a great way to unlock a lot of the hostility that's going on. Yes, I'm dating your brother now. I don't want to be with you anymore. Your cousin is really good and we're running off to Hawaii. Things like that. And once that gets out there, you know, it's a different era. But there's no more shame. There's no more fault. There's no more humiliation. It's just trying to keep something away from the other party. And it is an important part of divorce because if there are children, those children are going to meet that new person in the life. So why not just admit it up front? That way you can get to the financial aspect much more quickly.
So getting the emotional out of it, well, as much as you can, because I don't think you can ever really take the emotional part out of it.
True.
But like what you said, the truth. So when I think about the truth, and I think about when I say the truth, like if I'm holding back, like you said, you know, withholding, or man, I think this is going to hurt. So I really don't want to say this to you. And then you say it and it's hardly ever as bad as you thought it was in your own head.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the healing starts. And then that's where you maybe like, oh God, you're a jerk or whatever. But then at that point you're going to have to go through what you're going to have to go through. But even sometimes going through pain is part of the healing process. Would you agree with that?
I'll give you another example.
Yeah, please.
I had a case where a guy could not bring himself to tell his wife he was gay. He was embarrassed, he was mortified, he was ashamed. So we were at a session and I said to him, knowing the answer, well, why do you think you're getting a divorce? What's the reason for the breakdown? And he said, well, as a matter of fact, I'm gay. And the wife looked at him and said, really? So am I.
That's right. Sounds like the Pina Colada song, you know?
Neither one knew the other one was gay.
That's
but
amazing.
Afterwards, it opened up all kinds of dialogue that allowed them to be better parents. Again, the truth shall set you free.
Wow.
There's no upside to holding it. You'll give yourself an ulcer. It'll burn out your throat. You'll die. Let it out. As you said, there's no consequence to being truthful.
You know what I find is I have a couple friends right now that are going through a divorce, and one of them in particular calls me. You know, as a real estate somebody that I helped with real estate, and he calls me, and it's funny because it's all strategy. You know, we have attorneys. These they make money, so they've got money to spend on the attorneys, and it's just all this strategy and all this conniving and all this like, okay, if I do this and all this, almost like they're continuing their outsmarting of a relationship that, you know, the fact that they probably were trying to outsmart each other, or that he was trying to, or she was trying to outsmart the other person in the relationship, is probably why they're at where they're at right now.
And at the end of the day, who wins? It's not them.
Yeah.
It's the guy with the shingle. Now, I have a shingle. I do. But I'm not into this for the big bucks anymore. I really try to facilitate the divorce in a way that neither party is going to suffer economically as a result of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love the whole thing about truth and how that allows, you know, to go through the process. I think that's such an important part about, you know, not even divorce, just having a great relationship.
I'll give you the California case where the truth matters.
Okay.
So a woman won the lottery for $25 million. And instead of going home and saying, hey, honey, we're rich, she served him with divorce papers. And when it came time to fill out her financial disclosure statement, she never listed it. She never put it down and went on to get the divorce. Well, after the divorce was over, she turned in her ticket. And they lived in a small town, and the husband saw that she had won the lottery. And he said, "Hey, honey, you won that during the community property period. I want half." And she says, "No, I'm going to keep it all." So he took her back. He took her back to court, and he said, "Your Honor, I'd like half." And the judge said, "I'm really sorry, sir. You don't get half. You get it all because she committed fraud."
Wow.
Truly a case of a case of the truth shall set you free. So that was a very expensive and unusual circumstance, but it's easier to tell the truth. That gaming back and forth,
Yeah.
it does come back and bite you in the tushy.
Well, just the whole gaming thing, it's I read a book and it's I'm trying to think what it's called. It was something about getting divorced, and it said you want to leave your marriage better than when you divorce. You want to leave it better than when you found it. You want to leave it better for you being there. And I think that's just a great idea. It's just a great concept. Like if you can, okay, you're going to have a divorce, but can you leave that a better place than when you started it?
Well, I think you tend to keep that stuff with you down the line. That callousness builds up. There's like tartar on your teeth.
Yeah.
You need to brush your teeth to get rid of the tartar. So too, in a divorce, if you do it fair and square, if you are open and honest, and if you have somebody appropriate in the middle, you will walk away with what you're supposed to walk away with. You're not going to walk away with both the blue fork and the purple fork, but you'll have one of them. And so long as the other party has one of them, you're both winning. You're not going to get anything that existed prior to the time of the marriage, because that's not community property. Just be truthful throughout.
Do you find that the more honest and more kind, the less attachment they have to, to money or to things?
Sometimes you get emotionally attached to the refrigerator. You don't want to give up the refrigerator.
That's right.
But as we hear all too often, it was only a thing. Look at the people living in Louisiana now that just went through the storm last weekend. They have learned it's only a thing. People up here in California living through the fires and their houses are gone, and they just want to see a picture that might have existed before. Everything else, it's only a thing.
Oh, so,
things don't matter as much as the living soul who you spent all those years with.
Yeah. It's funny because, I'd gone back to the house to get something out of the shed where my tools are. And I noticed that the shed was all straightened out, and like, wow, everything's all in great order. And I looked and okay, well, things had to have gotten thrown away to have it be this nice. And for a split second, I got upset. I got annoyed about that. Like, well, how dare you throw away stuff that was mine or whatever. And I thought at the same time, it's like, you don't even want this. Like and I could go into some kind of drama. I could create a drama in myself and then go down a tunnel and just be upset. Or I can just notice that this stuff's not even important to me. Why would I even take my mind and my thoughts and my conscious down some tunnel that's just going to create upset? Because it's all just going to create upset. Once I start a conflict, once I start in going down that tunnel, going down that road, my brain or all of our brains are going to add to it. They're going to add more. Well, what about this? And what about that? They're just going to add more. What do you do? What is do you have any kind of techniques that you use to get people to, stop going down those tunnels?
Well, I ask them, what are they trying to win here? Mm-hmm. Are they trying to win the jigsaw? Are they trying to win the roto-brooter? Or are they trying to punish the other person for some alleged malfeasance 15 years ago? I mean, what is the point of what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Are you trying to say your girlfriend is cuter than your wife used to be? You know, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And if you, in my way, confront that person and they're honest, you get to a point where that dialogue begins to really develop. You know, some people say things just to hear themselves be heard, but they're not even hearing what they're saying themselves. So they need to really acknowledge what they're saying is true, honest, fair.
Yeah.
That allows for significant negotiations about important things. The majority of couples have children. So the important thing is, what are we going to do with the children? I read somewhere you can't leave them at a Starbucks and drive away. That's not allowed.
I think I read that too.
Yeah, no, it's not allowed. Or at the Del Mar racetrack.
Del Mar racetrack. Yeah. At least not with some money. You gotta leave them with money if you take them there. You know, I like what you're saying, and I'm gonna connect it to the curiosity theory, because when you're asking people questions, you say, I'm asking them this and I'm asking them that. That's being curious, and that's, I believe, what happens in those moments, and I could be wrong, but this is what I believe it is that you're tapping into you're taking them away from their reptilian mode and they're just their anger, and they're going to have to start thinking and considering. And it's hard to be angry when you're being curious, when you're considering something. And that's what that's something that I teach at the curiosity theory, is to, when you're upset, try being curious about what you're upset about. And the upset kind of falls away just a second, because you're like looking at it, wow, what am I upset about? You know, and then but you're looking at it from a different perspective. So you have maybe your feet on the ground a little bit more solid. And I hear that's what you're doing with people in the questions you're asking them, the curiosity that you're using with them.
When I come to a new family, it's always a blank slate. And so my curiosity is really to help me fill in my yellow pad of the whys and wherefores. How did you get to this spot? What steps did you take to make sure divorce is what you wanted, as opposed to attempting therapy and a reconciliation? What steps did you take to provide for your children to make sure that they are emotionally prepared for what they're about to have happen? So my curiosity will spill over into their curiosity, the couple's curiosity, because my question begets questions on their part. What can we do to make the situation better? What can we do to not have you charge us too much money?
Yes.
As stupid as that sounds, you know, what can we do to settle the knives, spoons, and forks? And so, yes, curiosity is a big part of every one of these cases, because no one knows what's going on in somebody else's mind. The only way we find out is by asking.
I like that you said you're also neutral. That or you didn't say neutral, you said blank. I said neutral. But when somebody shows up, when a couple shows up, when somebody shows up, you're neutral. How do you do that? What is your process for, you know, you look at somebody and you're like, oh my God, the guy's like a thug, you know, or gosh, she's like a floozy or whatever. You know, we have these thoughts that are going to show up. What is your process or how did you learn to be neutral?
I think by dealing with as many cases as I have, you know, first of all, you can't judge a book by a cover. I've had people come in who have had torn jeans, torn t-shirts, and when I see their portfolio and they have $25 million, I say, boy, I screwed up there. But it's somewhat irrelevant. You know, what a person looks like doesn't matter. And now that I'm happily married, looking at her, can't do anything. I can't look at some other woman. But so I really come at this completely as a neutral third party. It's a big part of who I am. I require, when an email is sent to me by one of the parties, they must include the other in the correspondence. I need to be transparent.
Yeah.
It cannot look like I am aligned with either one. Yeah. My job is there for both of them and their children. I am frequently contacted by children to the divorce, and they often come with their own perspective, but they want to make sure they're going to be in a safe space going forward. Young children don't have a vote in where they're going to go, who they're going to live with. But when a kid hits his mid-teens or her mid-teens, I often hear them and they say, I need to live with my A father, B mother, because. And because not all parents are created equal. Some parents are better trained to be parents than others. And some are so out there socially that they're never home to make dinner, to do homework, to get kids to sports teams and be involved in their children's lives. And that's a consequence of the process.
Well, I like what you said, and my version of what you said would be that I guessed a lot, and guess what? I was wrong too many times. I guessed this person that walked in that had $25 million but had ripped jeans. Wow, I was wrong on that one. And I think it's really important that we can be that honest and vulnerable with ourselves and say, you know what, I'm wrong. And eventually, I think experience is what teaches us to be more neutral. So if you're one of the young people out there and you haven't been wrong as much as Rich and I have been wrong,
Oh boy,
you'll be wrong.
Oh,
You get our age.
I'm wrong 10 times a day.
Absolutely.
And I know it. I don't know where guessing gets you, because there's no basis in it other than what's in your gut, and your gut isn't always right.
Yeah, it's hardly ever right about yourself, right? How's it going to be right about other people that you don't know? Wow. Rich, I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me today. Lots of really, really great nuggets. You want to, can you just take a couple seconds and maybe share your contact information? I believe it's in the show notes, but if you wouldn't mind sharing that, that'd be great.
Sure.
And then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
So the name of my business is A Fair Way Mediation Center. And our best phone number is 619-985-2357. And our website is www.afairway.com. And if you want to write to me, the best email is rich@afairway.com. We try to get as many A-Fairs ways as possible. So if you have any questions, whether you hire us or not, please reach out. If you have any divorce questions, I'm here to help you through the process in any way I can. Martina, it was lovely seeing you today.
Thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Hang tight, and I'll just be right back. Well, that was amazing. I have so many notes. What Rich said, he said a lot of really, really powerful things. I think the two most important things is the honesty, is creating honesty and not withholding, not holding back. Just be honest, and then be neutral. Be neutral about the way you approach life. And I think that's just a good way to live life. Be neutral, because guess what? We're often wrong, and stay curious. So thank you very much for hanging out. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Take care.